Look at that. See? I feel like I want a cold open, just like Andrew does all his great cold opens. Imagine, if you will, a cold open of all cold opens. Do you remember the day back in the day? I don't know how much you listened to it when it first got started, Andrew. That um the science of Pokemon used to have cold opens, and they were like SNL sketches, and they were completely stupid.
I didn't. I don't think I listened at that point, if I remember correctly. But that
It was
sounds
like
very funny.
it was like the first 3 years. I would be like, "Gosh, it's cold in here today, guys. What's going on?"
Oh, so we're not doing that anymore? That's not.
I think we're doing it right now. Just like Paula Poundstone, because famous stand-up comic Paula Poundstone.
Oh, yeah, right there, right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I'm too old for all of you.
No, I know who that is. You're not crazy.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love her so much. I was so sad. She was here the night that Isla and I had those photos. I
Oh,
really wanted to go see her though. I like we were in the city that she was performing. I was like, she's right down the street. It would have cost me like
dang.
$60 to take the two.
Yeah. Another time.
Well, happy Pokemon Day. Anyone who's watching this at a later time or listening to this as it's showing up in our podcast feed, hopefully tomorrow morning. Woo! Look at that. Um, what a great Pokemon Day today was, as the most anticlimactic of Pokemon days.
It was a short presentation. I feel like last year's was like 3 times longer. Am I wrong?
So
Certainly felt like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally went into today saying, like, and I literally said this yesterday. I was like, the announcement's going to be nothing. Like, it's going to be nothing new is coming this year. And I remember someone online was like, oh, someone on Reddit was like, "You full of shit. It's going to be Legend Celebi. Like, you're an idiot." And I was like, okay. I don't think anything's going to be announced tomorrow, but okay, sure.
Do y'all want to just like talk about what Pokemon Day is for those who
Yeah,
might not know?
yeah, let's do it.
Oh,
Explain it, Jillian.
yes.
Yeah.
You
Oh, I guess
volunteered.
I'm being
Go,
put on
go,
the
go,
spot.
go,
Yeah.
go, go.
Go for it. Go for it.
Well, for our listeners who don't know what Pokemon Day is, it's the day to commemorate the launch of Pokemon in 1996. So, as of today, Pokemon has been around for 28 years. Is that
27.
correct?
27.
27 years?
Oh, no, wait. It is 28 because it's birth. God dang it. Birthdays.
It is. It's 20. It's the same. It's the same age that my no, the same age that I am, but several years. Yeah, I'm a 95 baby, so it's very close.
I feel
Yeah.
so old. Anyways, so it's birthday, but do you know where that date shows up? Because I don't think that's the launch date, if I'm not mistaken.
Um,
That date's from the game.
yeah, I'm
That's
not sure.
Anna, do you know this one?
As far as I know, I thought it was Red and Green's release date. Isn't
It's
that
a
right?
day. It's a day listed
It
in the game.
is.
The day Mewtwo was born.
Ah, makes sense.
Oh.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
trying to.
That's
Yeah.
that's February 5th.
Oh, dang
Different
it!
day.
Ah,
Different day.
Oh, okay.
Close.
I was completely
Um,
wrong. I have no idea.
no, this is the release day, but specifically for Japan.
Mhm.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So February 5th is Mewtwo Day. Got it. So next
It might
year,
be 6th.
I expect all of you to get tattoos.
Yeah. No.
Nah, I think I'm gonna
Eh,
pass on that one.
I'm
Okay.
cool.
I also
Mewtwo's all right.
I also lied. It's February 6th. Let me get my facts straight. All right.
Okay, that much better, Ben.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
uh, yeah. So Jillian, thank you. So Pokemon Day is the birthday. What do we normally get to do on Pokemon Day, though? What makes it special?
There's usually an announcement by the Pokemon company that announces like new games or upcoming news about, games in the series. So today, some of the news was that they're releasing the new Arceus game in some vague future. It looks like it'll be focusing on Kalos, and Kalos is the region that is inspired by France. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm interested to see where that goes. It sounds like potentially it's like another period piece. The Pokemon Renaissance with coming from Legends of Arceus open worlds platform. So I really like this idea of Pokemon exploring different time periods. I
Is it
think
the
that's a really
Renaissance?
neat. No, I don't think it's like specifically the Renaissance. I just said it's like the Renaissance of like Pokemon having like a new era of
Mhm.
um
I don't know if
I
they
don't know.
the only big thing that was
Mhm.
mentioned during big thing is even a stretch, but the only real connection is that it has something to do with was it like a revamping of Lumio City or like a
Mhm.
so that could be honestly like Enlightenment period France if you wanted to go if we're continuing with like this historical aspect of it, because it's talking about how you're building Lumio City. So it's either that or we jump a million years in the future and it's hey guys, it's Lumio City 4.0 or something of that stuff.
Well, so could it be one of two things? And could it be we're gonna go in the past and we get to
Mhm.
hang out with Az
Mhm.
and like see that entire storyline, which would actually be really cool.
That
Yeah.
is my
Well,
early
the game's
guess
called
is that.
ZA. It's Az backwards.
Mhm. Lots of speculation about that we're gonna play through the 3,000 years war, which
Mm.
like could be really interesting to have like
I don't
a
think we're gonna
war
get to war. I
landscape.
don't think we're
Yeah,
gonna
I
get
don't
to
know,
war.
but
Well, and
something's going on with that.
They
you
did
guys,
show war in the Lucario movie, Lucario and the
yes.
Mystery of Mew.
Well, we have a Pokemon game that's actually based on war. So just if you don't remember,
Hmm.
Pokemon Conquest is actually a
Conquest.
Go
war
to
game.
MVP game. One of the
It
best.
was such a good game.
Conquest should have been better than it was. Like received better than it was.
Okay,
It
I was
was
about to
That's what
say.
I
Received
meant.
better.
About
Yeah.
to
hold on,
say.
Yeah.
hold on. As the oldest person here, I'm gonna tell you that it was received quite well. You guys would have been like 5.
Oh, I guess it just wasn't very popular.
It
Like it
was
didn't sell a
actually
Yeah.
lot. I
not.
don't know.
Conquest
Yeah.
is black and white. What do you mean 5?
How old were you guys?
Was it?
Yeah, Conquest is.
It came out. Okay, so I know where I was living when it came out. So it had to be 2009 or 10.
I'm. Oh, well, hello.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
I
I would have been.
refute the notion that I was 5. I was a good double digits.
I
Thank you
was
very
gonna
much.
say I would have been like 15.
Whatever. You guys were in high
Yeah,
school.
whatever.
Whatever.
2012. Yeah, I had memories.
Yeah. Most of my Pokemon like fanatic friends weren't playing it. I think I was like one of the only households in my school that had it.
I loved that game.
It's great.
It was such a good game.
Justice.
But I think that too, and I think that's something that worth mention as we talk about how anticlimactic today is. In the past, in previous generations, on previous consoles, we've gotten a lot of spin-off games. Like when we were on the DS, we had like 18,000 different spin-off games. So we had
Mhm.
the Rangers, we had Mystery Dungeon stuff coming back out. We had Conquest, like it just game after game after game. And even on the 3DS, we had more stuff than I feel like we're getting now. And I think a lot of that is because a lot of it's moving to this.
Mhm.
And 99% of the announcements today were, hey, here's an update to your favorite mobile game.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
I was like, okay.
It's
And then
funny.
the
A lot of
only
yeah. Go ahead.
No, they say the only big game they announced today, like they're like, oh, it's coming out next year.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
know. We just have a whole year ahead of us of mobile apps. It's fine.
Mhm.
It's fine.
Weirdly, well, maybe weirdly, a lot of people that I know that are Pokemon fans are actually like excited about the fact that they're not releasing something new because the idea that they'll spend more time on the theoretical idea. Look, we can believe Maddison. We don't have to actually know whether or not that's true. But the idea that hey, we're not getting a new like main release remake. They're gonna take time on whatever insert next thing is. Uh, that's a fun concept because I believe the Legends team is just distinctly different from the other teams
It's
that
a different
yeah.
company. It's a third party, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, it's not even
uh
the TPCI. It's not even Game Freak.
so the fact that you could have an entire dedicated group sort of run the main Switch the $70 tier
Yeah.
for you know, you have another company working on that, so the company that
Well-
like internally can theoretically work on Black and White 3 or Gen
That's-
10,
I
Or whatever.
heard-
Yeah.
the Ben 10
I-
version. Yeah.
I saw a lot of people say, because the way it was worded, it says Nintendo Switch consoles. That there is speculation
Oh,
that
yes.
that it might be a dual release because we're gonna get Switch 2 at some
For
point
the
in next
Switch
year.
2.
There's a second one coming.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
A second
Allegedly.
one's technically been attempting to be released since I think 2019 or something.
Well, because they had to update the hardware, because essentially, like, Nintendo Switch is actually like one whole generation behind Xbox.
Mhm.
Yeah, now that we have the Steam Deck, I think it's
It's hard
pushing
for
a
them-
lot of consoles in a different direction.
Well, and I think Nintendo has done things that the other consoles can't or won't. And I think that's important. Because I think Nintendo at the end of the day knows that it's a family game console. Understands that.
I think where they fall short though is that graphically they're behind a lot of the other consoles. Like it process wise, it just can't handle the graphics of a lot of PC games.
But I think it's because they focus so much on the other features that it's almost like they don't see the graphics as the main focus. Because like on a PlayStation, like, you know, we're not doing like we used to do back in when I was a kid, where you got your split screen hookup and four of us are sitting here on the big home screen TV playing X-Men Legends 2. Like that's not happening anymore. So like PlayStation and Xbox, I don't even need my friend to be in the same house anymore to game with you. So I can put more focus into the processing than into other technologies for like, the split screen and stuff like that. Whereas Nintendo constantly is focused on how do I keep everyone together? And I think that's the big difference. And Nintendo knows that. I mean, that's why we have our little dock that has docks for 8 controllers. Everyone in our house has different colors. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, so then like can Nintendo like supply me with the friends necessary for this as well? Or
Ben, I'm right here.
I meant in person. Like in my house.
I'm already there.
We did so much Mario Kart last year after the hospital because Haley learned that she loved it because I brought my Switch to the hospital. I was stuck there for a week, so I had Kevin hook it up to the TV and I played it from the bed. But then
Wait, that's
Haley
actually so
realized-
fun.
It was great. And then Haley realized she loved Mario Kart. So then I was like, okay, I guess I gotta buy you your own Joy-Cons now. And like we had Mario Kart parties all summer.
Well, I will just say I disagree that Pokemon Day is anticlimactic because I think PikaScience brings the climactic part
Oh, and that's where we're
to
starting today's event. Thank you,
Pokemon
Jillian.
Day.
Yes, yes.
Speaking of which, Jillian, today's event, I'm going to be moderating here, if everyone's okay with that. We have
Sure.
a lot of questions here from a lot of great fans, friends, listeners, all those great people here, including Fred and Steve and Joe and Bill and Ted. Thank you too. Ben's like, two of us laugh. And it's you
I
and me.
understood that.
Ben, my favorite thing ever. I was a big Bare Naked Ladies fans in the early 2000s and late 90s, and there was a concert I went to once where they made a joke, and after the joke, they said 5 people thought that was funny, and we're all on stage.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Been there, done that. All right, so our first question comes from Nick, whose favorite is Slowbro. And Nick says, do Pokemon need a lot of calories all the time in order to do the moves that they do? Or do they all have like different energy sources? We got
Okay.
I think we have all sorts of colors on our spreadsheet.
Yeah, I kind of took interest in this one, and anyone can interject at any point and add their thoughts. But when I think about energy and organisms, I imagine that most Pokemon require some significant amount of energy to perform their battle moves, and they'll need energy anyways just to live. Hello, homeostasis, anybody? But battling in general it's an energy consuming activity, and I think a really good example of this that anyone can relate to is like playing sports or participating in some kind of physical activity. I personally am the kind of person to be super hungry after strenuous activity, and not even just like playing sports or something. I get hungry after sitting through 2 classes in the morning and having to use all of my brain power to like think and process information, unironically. So just thinking about how much energy that consumes in us, I feel like in Pokemon there's a lot of dynamic things happening with energy. And I don't know the details of like Pokemon food or how much, different Pokemon consume. Obviously, it's going to vary. We've got a ton of variation and diversity in Pokemon, but you can also explore this through the lens of the kinds of energies required by some Pokemon. So, for example, we know a handful of Pokemon use photosynthesis, right? So that's one way of capturing energy and being able to use it. You can think of like perhaps solar beam too, right? There's a period of gathering energy, and then that energy is all released. The mechanisms of which I failed the ATP, photosynthesis, Krebs cycle, all of that. So don't ask me. But there's other things we can think about too, right? Like electricity. Pikachu stores electricity, and such as other electric type Pokemon. And so they might not have to necessarily eat that energy, but they would have to find that energy source somewhere. And even finding energy sources is going to take energy in itself. So there's a lot going on in terms of calorie dynamics and metabolism, but I think that was a really interesting question because it sparks a lot more questions for me than answers.
Okay, I think too, I just thought about this too. This is reflected in PP or PowerPoints for Pokemon because the strongest moves have the least PP. I'm thinking like Hydro Pump, you can only use 5 times because I'm sure it's incredibly consuming. But then like Splash, which does nothing, you can use like 50 times. So I think that's reflected through that somehow.
There's some
Sure.
kind of math involved in there. Can
It's
I
not a
phone a
mechanic
math
thing.
friend?
Yeah, it's a math problem.
I actually think about this. So I know actually Chelsea, Lila, and I got to release this the day after this is dropping. Chelsea, Lila, and I did the whole episode last Friday, and one of the things we did talk about was the plant type Pokemon with photosynthesis as a adaptation here. And I do know that, and Jillian, I'm sure you'll correct me if I, no matter how wrong I am. I do know that there are, I think there's wasp species, ornamental wasps, right? That can do photosynthesis.
I'm not sure.
I know there's some, it's like either an ornamental wasp or hornet, because I know we've talked about it. One of our early panels that we would do on our convention trips was talking about Pokemon that are animals that we thought needed to be Pokemon because they were more interesting. Surprise, surprise, Ivory and Rivnute was on that list, and now is the coolest Pokemon ever.
Oh.
But I imagine things that have options of photosynthesis probably do have to consume less calories. What I think of is actually, does that speed stat actually translate into calorie burning? So we know that slow moving animals sometimes have a less calorie rich diet. I think of pandas. They're useless. Where like your diet is so useless that essentially you just kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna munch and just kind of lay here. And then we know of animals that like great white sharks that need to eat high caloric, high fat content, high protein content. And so does that tell me that Grinja is out there just like gobbling crap like constantly? Like, I don't know. For me, that makes me it does make me think like that maybe some Pokemon would have a more intense diet for sure than others. And I think that kind of fits the question in general.
In terms of the wasps, I'm seeing this now. So it is an oriental hornet, and they convert sunlight into electricity, but it's not photosynthesis.
Oh man.
Because photosynthesis requires the use of chloroplasts, and chloroplasts are a special kind of
For
cell
plants.
in plants,
Yes.
that are used to capture sunlight. And animals don't have chloroplasts. But what's really interesting, like Maddison pointed out, is this is an organism that's utilizing solar energy and converting it into electricity.
Oh,
The letter
that
two.
does sound like a
The letter
great
two.
Pokemon. Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum wrote the number 2. The letter 2. sorry, SNL Celebrity Jeopardy. Clearly, I'm aging myself constantly with you all. So Eli, who likes scissors, says, "Who's the smartest Pokemon?"
So I love this question because I am a Gen 3 lover and Metagross is in this answer. So okay, there are so many answers to this question, depending on what angle you want to take. According to a lot of Pokédex entries, Alakazam and Metagross are the two smartest. They are smarter than supercomputers. I think Metagross has 4 brains. Alakazam's IQ is something like 4 or 5,000. It's like really extreme numbers. Um, and then we have some other Pokemon that I know, according to their Dex entries, they can see into different times. So past, future, Gothitelle and Zatu are specifically said to be able to do this. I feel like that is a sign of particular intelligence of some kind. And then in the anime, we see Slowking is capable of speech. In Pokemon the movie 2000, of course, Meowth is capable of human speech. So there's all these answers, but by and large, it's mostly psychic types that are shown to be, which makes sense. Like the brain type seem to be the smartest.
So I just want to comment really quick, as we have joked about, we had an old panel that we used to do about how Pokemon doesn't understand physics at all or numbers.
Mhm.
And
They just make stuff up.
yeah, like a 4,000 IQ would be so insane. Um, and as someone whose background is in cognitive psych, like I can't even comprehend theoretically what that means.
Right, because the human scale, what taps out at what, like 200? Like,
Well,
Yeah,
and
your
and
super
even
geniuses, I think, are in like the 220s, 230s, and even
yeah.
maybe that might be stretching it.
Intelligence is a human
gifted range start.
construct, though.
Yeah,
It's based on, it's
Yeah.
human-centered. So maybe there's a Pokemon intelligence we haven't tapped into.
We don't even
I
understand.
can't even believe
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not to mention IQ tests are incredibly racist, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But no, gifted in high IQ. Oh, sorry, I'm quieter than everyone else. Sorry, is that better? Hopefully that's better. So gifted and like high intelligence actually starts a lot lower than 200, just so we're aware. Um,
Right.
because within the first standard deviation, so you have to remember that 100 is the center, right? Because we all know stats. That
We
first
try to.
Okay, so that first deviation actually ends at about 115, 120. So to go beyond that is still, yeah.
So
So I know
4,000.
that's it. That's it. That's how stats works.
I also want to throw a shout out to Blipbug in the smartest Pokemon, Blipbug, Dottler, and Orbeetle. So that's like their whole theme is that they're like looking for knowledge and they're really nerdy. And they turn into this like crazy, awesome, super intelligent, extraterrestrial looking being, basically Lady Gaga, anyways.
Hey, you take it back. Speaking of which,
What?
did you see the news tabloids posted a picture of her with her nails?
No, but now someone should Photoshop
Oh
Blipbug
yeah,
with like
now I am.
an acrylics.
Well, no, no, no,
Oh.
no, 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 no. Because these two are not long.
Oh, I see.
Oh, that's meaningful.
So anyways, moving on to our next question. Oh, also I'm gonna say Shelder's the smartest because he does no work. Shelder has learned how to leash off a Slowbro or Slowpoke, whatever.
And yeah, we're seeing there's all types of way to define intelligence. This is a tricky question.
Shelder just cons everyone out of their money.
Mhm.
I was like, I'm not doing work today. All right, so Maya, who likes Gengar, said, "Why is Gengar a ghost and poison type?" So Maya, here's the thing: Ghastly Haunter and Gengar are Japanese names, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think I am because I had to do this at work to filling in answers without the internet. They all mean ghost in some form. So like they do literally just translate to ghost. So I'm not sure the poison typing. So here's what I would speculate is that in Gen 1, Psychic type was so overpowered that the creators wanted Psychic types to appear to be the strongest types. Like it was really clear. So it would mean that giving Gengar line poison, that Alakazam could check its one and only counter. So, because remember, Gen 1, we don't have, if I'm not mistaken, Bug wasn't super effective against Psychic yet. And Dark
Don't
That
think
type,
yeah,
so.
yeah, that was
Bug has been trash for so
I
long.
think
And no
it
dark
was
types, right?
no, I remember what it was. Bug has no moves just in general in that
that's it.
generation, so even if you had a good bug type, then it wouldn't work. And then I think it was miscoded that ghost type was super effective, but actually it wasn't, which just made Alakazam and the other psychic types even that much better.
Yep. Yeah. So again,
Um,
back to all those Gen 1 purists. Back to my constitution is the perfect constitution made in 1760. Shut up. That game had so many problems, it's not even funny. Your friend could be surfing at the wrong spot in Cinnabar Island and break their game forever. You guys don't even know
True.
the horrors. You don't know the horrors.
I've only
Um,
played Virtual Console, I'll admit it. So
I've had
this is way different.
I had so many friends try to glitch the game on purpose that they like broke their
Oh, the 90s.
oh man. I
and
will
we
say at
all
least
we all looked for that stupid truck that Miyu was hidden under. We all taped our Game Boy,
uh
put brand new batteries in it, and taped it, and was hoping for the truck.
I will say
Mm.
Ghastly, I think having the poison type makes sense because I think it's implied to be
Oh,
poison gas. And my logic has always just been when I saw the question, I just was thinking about it along with the other ones. My thought was, this is Gen 1. I don't think they ever thought about taking away types because they did that in Gen 2 with Blossom, and then they like switch types up, going from like Onyx to Steelix, so they'll
In
take away one and
evolutions,
replace the other.
yeah.
Yeah. So my guess is, hey, Ghastly's a poison type. Haunter, I guess, also makes sense as a poison type. I guess we'll just keep it because why not? And here we are now with Gengar stuck as a ghost poison effort.
Okay,
You
so
know, that checks out.
it all checks out. Who knows? So Kai, his favorite Pokemon is Pikachu, says, "How is Pikachu able to make light?" None of us fielded this question, but I'm happy to speculate here if anyone else wants to jump in. I had two possible thoughts here. So, one being that we do know that there are animals in the animal kingdom that can make light. I think of anglerfish. I think of lightning bugs. So, electric Pokemon could have chemical reactions. I don't know, because we all know they can gain flash. Like Pokemon that gain flash maybe have this weird chemical reaction.
I
Or
think
they're
with electric type Pokemon, it's based in electricity, whereas bioluminescence is not necessarily based in electricity. It's like Maddison said, chemical reactions, and it's within it's made within their internal systems, whereas electricity can be garnered from outside sources from electric type Pokemon. But it's a game, so it's all whatever we speculate.
You explain to me why my barrel learns flash.
Because it was the designated HM carrier for the game. That's why. That is.
I mean, have we tested Barrel glow in the dark? Like, is it phosphorescent? Like,
Well, there are some mammals that do glow under UV light. It is possible. We
okay.
don't actually know why they do that. It's flying squirrels that do that.
Yes.
So you can just like shine a light on a flying squirrel in the night and they will glow. So maybe B-Barrel is some sort of derivative of that.
Andrew, I think the next question is yours, by the way.
Yes.
Because we did totally talk about this at the convention. So,
Mhm.
Jami, who likes Heracross, said, "How expensive would it be to own Pokemon?"
Yeah, we talked about this in one of the recent convention episodes that I think it was a couple weeks ago, if I had to
I have
guess
no
right,
idea.
Madison.
Time.
Time is a thing.
I was literally at the convention center on Sunday, and Kevin said, "We were just here," and I said, we were?
What?
And he was like, with Ben and Anirudh. And I was like, oh yeah.
Well,
like,
that
"That
was
just
something we
happened?"
did this year. Um, Short answer, it'd be very expensive. A long answer is it would be annoyingly expensive. It depends on the type of Pokemon you have. Uh, Obviously, you have to take into account like actual care and space and supplies, food, all that sort of stuff. I would assume, just based on statistical logic, that's not a real thing, but sure, that Snorlax would be significantly more expensive to take care of than, say, um, I'm trying to think. I swear there's something
Hoppip.
that like Hoppip, sure, why not? I'm trying to think of a Pokemon that literally fasts for a living because I feel like there is something. There's at least one. Kamala. There
Maybe
you go. That's a perfect example.
great one.
You got Snorlax on one side, who when awake tries to eat your house, and then you have Kamala, who is never awake and therefore will not try to eat your house. Benefits. Sure, but it would be like a pet if the pet could also accidentally burn your house down or cause a flood or have it snow at random points in the day just because they're feeling like it, you know.
The insurance costs would be astronomical.
Well said, Jillian. In fact, we're gonna have an episode about insurance that I've been putting off because I want to make Maddison suffer.
I thought you were gonna say stuff it. I was like, what did she say? This is
Well,
so aggressive.
when we came up with the idea of doing economics, one of the first things I said was, I had two things that I absolutely wanted, or three things I absolutely wanted to do. Organized crime, which was actually your idea too, and we've never done it. Um, organized crime was up there, and I was like, we need to talk about black markets, like so bad. I need to talk about black markets. We said poaching was another one to tie into black markets and how that works, because those are a market and they are an underground market. But also organized crime doesn't necessarily have to be a black market because it can be other things too. Um, and the other big one I really wanted to talk about was insurance.
Yep. 0 for 3
Because
so far, and I'm proud of it, but that streak's breaking.
you wait. Next week we got a surprise for everybody. I'm so excited. I cannot lie to you. I want to talk about how expensive insurance would be in the Pokemon.
I
We
guess
mentioned this at the convention, yeah.
a good comparison, I think, for people to draw would be thinking about like, I don't know, I think about lizards. Like you could keep in a knoll, which does require much more than most people think, but it's smaller space, right? And you know, they only eat so much versus if you got like an iguana, which technically requires like its own bedroom sized room. So, you know, bigger Pokemon, bigger costs or more energetically, I guess, invested Pokemon. And if you're a battler, gosh, I don't envy the cost of being a Pokemon, the health insurance cost on Pokemon battling. I mean, I know Pokemon centers are free, but then you gotta think about paying Nurse Joy, you gotta think about the technology. Oh my gosh.
I keep going back to because we talked about this at convention that Snorlax eats more than an elephant, and how expensive it is for zoos to feed elephants. Like it's about I think it's like $1,000 a day.
Yeah, only the privileged trainers who grew up in economic
I mean,
cushiness can own a Snorlax.
I mean that's the truth though. Like you'd have to be super wealthy to feed your Snorlax.
Oh, new hot take. Snorlax is hidden behind a paywall.
It's a
for rich
luxury
people.
Pokemon.
Yes.
Okay. Next question. Nyan, who likes Jigglypuff, wants to know, how would being cute help Jigglypuff? This is an evolution question, I think. About my
So
thought went to big eyes, like in babies and puppies.
if we're thinking about beneficial traits of Pokemon and we're considering being cute a beneficial trait, we want to think about the context in which being cute is beneficial to Jigglypuff. And so the first thing that probably comes to mind is predation, right? And they can use this cuteness to, you know, we have charm, right? Charm makes your enemy think, oh, you're so cute. You know, I'm really into you, whatever. So that cuteness in that sense is protecting them from a predator or from an opponent, or perhaps even from people, right? Maybe you're a trainer trying to catch a wild Jigglypuff and you're like, oh, it's so cute, but you're so infatuated by it that it helps it escape you, or you you're too slow to catch it because you're like, oh, it's just so cute. You get the cute aggression and you're standing there for like 5 minutes. I do that with cats. I That's what I think about. Other contexts and when being cute would be beneficial. I don't know, Pokemon competitions. But that's not really an evolutionary trait. If we're thinking about the scale of evolutionary time and having this trait because of something, it's probably not Pokemon competitions because they haven't been around long enough for Jigglypuff to evolve that. But maybe
Millions of years of Pokemon musical.
yeah.
Wait, hold on. Wait, you don't know that. So Chelsea was talking to us about animals when we did the thing on Friday about different animals that have been adapting to humans and that we've seen evolution already driven by by animals' desire to thrive with humans.
Mm, that
So
makes
you don't know.
sense.
I mean, like 100 years of Jigglypuff, maybe the eyes went from like, I mean, I think of wolves and dogs, right?
Hmm. I think of corgis. Right? Like,
Jigglypuff was once a gigantic like scream tail.
see, okay, we have basis for this, and now look at it. It's not so scary. Like, this makes sense.
I like how cats have been around people for as long as theoretically possible, yet they're seemingly unchanged, unlike the wolf. So I say Chad cat, boo wolf. Cats are based. They've never had to change for us. They were perfect.
Perfect.
I mean, you say that, but like, I mean, I know we have different varieties of cats now.
That is true, but they're just look at they just are so perfect. I love them.
Anyways, all right.
Okay,
So our
Yuna, that's enough.
our next question is from Prey, who likes Morpeko and says, "Why is Morpeko different colors on each side? Does this help him?" I have no
Okay.
I
idea.
don't
This
I
is an
don't know
excellent
enough about
question.
Morpeko.
Listen, I'm going to take a different approach to this question, and that he changes color from yellow and black to black and purple. And so maybe there's some kind of like way we can tie this to chameleons or octopi, animals that change their coloration. I don't know why Morpeko would do it. Like, you'd think a chameleon would do it for camouflage, same with an octopus.
But
I
chameleons don't
don't
use it for
know.
camouflage. They use it to convey mood.
Or mood, mating perhaps for some other creatures, all sorts of
Oh,
ways. Well, Morpeko does do it for mood. I mean, that's literally why he changes
It's
color.
a form of communication, so
Yeah.
color via communication.
so does that mean Morpeko has a different color when they're trying to mate?
Potentially. Who
I don't
knows?
know. Yeah. I mean, should we all like throw together a picnic with one and see if we get an egg from it? I don't know.
Kelsey, we need the mating color of the sticker now. Okay, so Parker, who likes Pikachu, says, "Why does Pokemon say their own names?" So I think I took a stab at this answer. So I said, animals have a variety of communication methods, and Jillian, feel free to correct me at any point. Some can make a few sounds, and some can make many sounds, and some have language, and some have a few sounds to respond to represent different ideas. Whales, for example, can have regional dialects. I know that. And some animals have different sounds to represent different members of their families or other animals they know. And I know like monkeys do that too. Um, some versions of Pokemon, such as some of the short series, some versions of like the anime Pokemon, the Pokemon actually do not say their name. They actually make sounds reminiscent to animals in our world. So I think Twilight Wings is one of them where they made different sounds. So like in the anime as well, some Pokemon actually don't say their name. I think of Victory Bell, it kind of screeches. Charizard roars. Gyarados kind of growls. Dragonite kind of kind of hums. And Staryu says, "Yeah." And Kinkler says, "Cookie." Take that as you will. My understanding that has to do with an actual crab sound, but you could all correct me on that if I'm wrong. So that said, some Pokemon like Ditto and Mew can say other Pokemon's names when they transform as well. So kind of complex answer here. So what I think is that beyond any of that, what it comes down to is marketing. And this is where I'm going to say, Andrew, jump in if you have any thoughts here. I think having their names said over and over again helps consumers know the names of the characters, which can support sales. So Pokemon had a far worse anime, I'm going to say objectively, than the original Digimon, yet it caught on a lot better. And I think a lot of this ties into behavioral sciences and cognitive research that shows that development of specific regions of the brains can actually occur with stronger connections if there is some repetition. And I think the repetition of the sound helps us create specialized regions that tie into memory of what they are. So essentially, the more that fans remember the characters, the more the company can sell merchandise. And I think this is why, like, we see Pokemon right now as they're trying to attract a new generation of fans. Instead of making oh my gosh, I can't think of it, the Paradox Mons, which Nintendo, please make me some Paradox Mon plush. I've been waiting now for 2 years. They keep, like, hey, here's the 8,000th Charmander plush we've made. But I think that's the big thing. It's that it's like a merchandising thing. That Pokemon took a really strong route because they knew how to merchandise. You add the Poke Wrap into the mix, and you have a recipe for a reward schedule. Essentially, it's like a behavioral reward schedule.
And we eat it up every single time.
Andrew,
It's
what are your
much.
thoughts?
Oh,
I basically agree. I think from a design standpoint, it's a lot easier to get people to remember things if they hear it over and over and over again. That's basically my method for trying to study for exams, is just listen to recordings of lectures over and over again. And it's been the most successful in that I have not failed any classes yet, so that's a good sign. But on a more serious note, I think that's an easy way to, especially as time goes on and more Pokemon show up, it becomes that much more important uh, for new viewers, for old viewers to quickly latch on to what's this big giant red dragon looking thing. Even the Charizard isn't a good example; it doesn't say its name, but say Charmander, for example. What's this tiny little lizard fire thing? Char. Okay, clearly it's got some name that starts with Char. Charmander. Wow, cool. Fire type. Kanto. Gen 1. We dive into the world from there. It's a good way of latching on quickly just by watching a couple of episodes. You instantly get, who the like main characters are, who their main partners are, because they keep saying their name over and over again. So it becomes very easy to
And I think
hold
that
on
was a
from that point.
difficulty with the Digimon anime for American viewers, because again, we're going to talk about American viewers in a time period where Saban, because again, my kid's a big Power Rangers fan. Saban thought that American kids were too stupid to handle new Power Ranger lineups, which is why they kept Tommy Oliver there for 5 seasons. Because they're like, American kids are so stupid, they're not going to understand that these are the same show. Sorry. But like, I think about that. Like, Digimon had 8 kids and 8 sponsors that turned into 4 different things. And like, that's a lot for a kid. Whereas you're like, who's that? Oh, it said Butterfree 14 times. That's Butterfree. That's my
I do
answer.
remember the theme song well.
Digimon?
The theme song is repetitive.
Oh, you meant the American version,
No,
not the Japanese one. I like the Japanese one better.
no, the English one. And also you get the blah 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 Digivolve 2 blah blah blah, which is much longer
Pokemon,
than Pika
Digivolve 2?
Pika.
Pokemon.
Yeah, I gotta say that's the only part of Digimon I remember is the song. So I think this theory is accurate. Yeah.
Well, but and like, think about it. Electro, Diglett, Nidoran, Mankey, Venus Rotata, Fearow, Pidgey.
Mm-hmm. It's this repetition. It's really working. No.
It's a
Yeah.
marketing thing.
It's totally a marketing thing.
Pokemon, as much as people give them crap, especially all the new Pal World friends give them crap, Pokemon knows how to do their marketing. That's one thing you got to give them. They understand their marketing and their audience, and they know how to deliver to their audience. And they know that their audience is not a bunch of angry 30-year-olds. Their audience is the 10-year-olds coming into the game, because those are long-term buyers, where the 30-year-old may not be a long-term buyer. And
Or we
again,
already have been. Yeah.
uh-huh. Yeah. Okay, so our next question comes from Iris, who likes Dunsparce. It says, "What kind of region, religious holidays, and celebrations do you think the Pokemon world would have?" Um, I'll listen to Ben if Ben has thoughts here. But I know
Okay.
we did talk about this in the first Poke College episode. We talked about alcohol and religion and celebrations, and we talked about how in the Pokemon world they would probably look kind of similar. Uh, I don't know. I'd imagine we'd have, people probably celebrating their local, like, legendary mon for sure.
Mhm, mhm. This is what I
Hey,
was gonna say. Yeah.
like, hey, that's a Landorus. He watches over the state. We all love Landorus.
Woo. I'm thinking, yeah, two different pathways for this is one, definitely a huge focus on like local festivities. So I'm thinking of like the Teal Mask DLC story. Like there's the Festival of Masks, and which is like integral to the plot of that DLC. But I think you would see that across all Pokemon regions, that there's these like local unique festivals. They're celebrating their heritage of the region. Local traditions, often mixed up with religion. That makes a lot of sense. I think the other way to think about this would be these massive, historically relevant holidays. So I'm thinking of like the Darkest Day in Galar. I would assume that they would celebrate the day the Darkest Day ended. Something that's like history in the making, right? Pokemon is funny because it does
The day
reference.
Paldea was conquered.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Like I figure that that would be a huge thing. That someone that like a federal holiday, like the LE4 gets to take off that
The
day.
Unova independence celebration from Galar.
Yes, right. Like things that have been constituted for thousands of years of history. The funny thing
So
about Pokemon is it does reference real quote unquote real holidays. Like we have Delibird, but I wouldn't say that Pokemon the region has Christmas. So
it
I'm kind of
does.
like,
It does.
does it?
There's a whole anime episode about it. There's 3 of them.
Oh, okay. But then like
And there are Christmas trees in them, and Santa shows up in 2 of
that begs so many questions because like is there Christianity in Pokemon then? Because like
them.
or is it like
Or
purely the pagan version of Christmas? I
or
don't know.
it's the pagan roots. Or is it like Japan? Do you get your KFC and tell your lover that you love them?
Like a totally different context, right?
Different Christmas.
Different Christmas. Yeah. So, but I would say, yeah, it was long answer, short answer, like local holidays and festivals, but then like big historical, like freedom,
Well,
independence days.
I would imagine too that religion would develop one way or another because humans do what humans do. We look for patterns, we look for signs, and I know you and I tend to probably to approach these topics a little differently than everyone else. I'm going to be cautious here. I'm going to explain my understanding from my background. You know, using evolutionary theory to look at religious development and how different cultures and religions developed over time, like we see the same patterns within humans over and over and over and over again, right? We look for things and our brains are giant pattern machines. That's why people look at the moon, they're like, there's a face. There's no face on the moon, guys. Your brain is designed to look for faces. Like that is there's a region in the brain to do that. And so I think people would also pick up on like patterns. And I imagine that there would probably definitely be religious development as well. Um,
Mm,
I mean, like we know Arceus exists and Mew exists. Like
mhm,
I bet you there's a church of Mew out there. It's probably a church for Arceus. And then there's probably the church for
mhm.
Giratina that actually is fighting for women's rights. That one's out there probably.
Yeah, this is very Church of Satan happening over here. Yes.
Well, speaking of churches, there's literally a church in Hardhome City in the Gen 4 games.
Uh-huh.
There's just
With
a
the
giant
whole
cathedral
stained glass.
that's just
Yeah.
it's the whole 9 yards, and people are just kind of there vibing. And I don't think there's a reference to actual like religion or anything. I don't think there's like a cross that's supposed to like symbolize Christianity, or just even like a book on a
Right.
counter or anything. It's just kind of just, hey, look at this cathedral that gives off real Gothic, uh,
It
like
seems
Gothic era type
sacred,
of vibe.
right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
this is very, very important. And then of course Gen 4 being the region where, you have quote unquote the god being introduced. It's kind of a sign. It's like, hey, this should probably mean something, but it's just kind of like, no, that's the big house over there.
Well,
Meanwhile,
And there's all sorts of like statues to the creator Pokemon, Dialga and Palkia and Giratina and
Mm,
Arceus. Like we have that whole thing, and then in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the
yes.
Arceus event with Spirit Pillar or Sky Pillar, whatever the heck it was called, whatever Arceus. I just remember doing the thing. I remember doing the thing. I don't. It's been a long time. But I think so too. I think people naturally are inclined to look for meaning. And because I know I had to acknowledge today to my best friend that I've been doing this in my current situationship at the moment, situationship, looking for meaning where there probably is none. Because
Mhm.
like our brains are designed to do that. And if everything else looks similar to our world, I imagine the humans there have similar brain structures.
Mhm. Yeah, which makes me think, right, that I didn't even say earlier, there's probably not just local festivals where it's fun, it's a weekend. I think like the Festival of Masks in Kitakami. I'm thinking probably there's like daily rituals too. Like these, I like that you pointed out like the statue in Diamond and Pearl in Eterna City. There's also the town where like I think Cynthia's mom lives. There's clearly like daily rituals that these people are doing that have to do with the deity Pokemon. So that
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
more day-to-day level of festivity.
Okay, so I'm going to go through some of these in kind of a speed round because we still have multiple pages to do.